The Sarasota Film Festival Spotlight Series is here today with...
This is Mike Addy, one of the co-directors of In Country.
Megan O'Hara, the other director of In Country.
Lucian Derensberg, one of the subjects of the film.
Megan, tell us a little bit about the story of In Country.
Sure. In Country is a feature documentary film that follows a group of war reenactors who are reenacting the Vietnam War. And one of the things that's interesting about this group is a number of them are veterans of Iraq and Afghanistan and Vietnam, and they're all out in Oregon reenacting the war.
Got it. Mike, what drew you to this?
I was initially just interested in I heard that people were reenacting the Vietnam War. And it's one of these things that I just couldn't believe growing up as a child of the Vietnam War.
You had to go and see it yourself.
Yeah, I couldn't believe that somebody would be doing this, and I wanted to know why. And that added a layer on. I brought Megan in and we started researching it, and what was so interesting about the group that Lucian's a part of is that many of these men were actually veterans themselves, which seemed to be another layer as to why would somebody want to revisit this war, not to mention people who'd already been to war.
Lucian, tell us how you got involved with these reenactments.
I met Joel Kinney, which is basically the man, the myth, the legend that makes everything happen. He basically, I met him at a party that he was having at his house for his niece that I know I grew up with, and he basically told me about what he does, and after that I just basically signed up and have been a part of it ever since.
What kind of cathartic experience do you get out of these reenactments?
The experience I get is one that stresses you mentally and physically, for one, but also pays tribute to those that fought for real in Vietnam. We like to make sure that we pay homage to those guys, and you know, they had a rough time when they got back, and we want to make sure that we give them a proper welcome home when we do see them and properly, you know, portray them.
Oh, you honored them brilliantly, and you really open yourself emotionally in this in a way that audiences will be so unbelievably touched by. Thank you for your courage in being in this film and opening up your story. What were some of the things that surprised you as you made this film?
I think for me, actually one of the big revelations was learning Lucian's story. I think we didn't realize the sort of what he was dealing with from his own experience at war. And what was such a revelation to us was seeing how I think that we had seen vets portrayed in such a way where they were always shown as being wounded and damaged in such a way. And what was so interesting about Lucian was he's just, you know, he's dealing with stuff, but he's also surviving and and able to smile. And I think that there's a real interesting sort of gradation that we're not talking about in terms of films and talking about portrayals of veterans.
So, Megan, Mike, what was the experience like for you? Did you feel like you were going to war, isolated from the world? Did you almost feel like you were over there?
Yeah, it was an interesting experience. We part of the agreement we made with the group when we were first initially talking about going out to film was that we agreed to dress up as war correspondents going out there. We had real modern day gear, but we wore clothes to kind of try to blend in a little bit. And it is a really immersive experience. I mean, they're out there for days at a time, and you know, we hiked right along with them and slept outside with them, and so we did get a little taste of that experience. I wouldn't say it felt anything like going to war, but I think
filmmaking itself can feel a little bit like going to war.
You definitely got a sense of the seriousness with which the reenactors take their reenactment, and I think you asked him what surprised him. I think number one thing that surprised me was just the dedication to authenticity and replicating history, and number two, how meaningful that experience is for a broad range of people who all bring different experiences to the reenactment, but they're all they're kind of sharing in this unit experience together.
Absolutely. Lucian, have any of the other subjects of the film seen it, and if so, what is their reaction?
We all had a private screening with just the members of the group, and every reaction is positive for the most part. You know, we all had what we thought the movie was going to be, but we weren't really necessarily part of the production phase, so you know, it was hard to watch.
Did you learned anything about each other that you didn't really know going in from seeing that, from actually seeing it from another point of view, even seeing yourself from another point of view?
Seeing myself was definitely interesting. I was very nervous watching it for the first time, knowing that I had spoke from the heart, I guess you could say.
You did.
And so and then seeing it, like 4 or 5 hours cut into, small chunks of time, but they're powerful chunks of time. I like to think so, and they portrayed me and the group very well. Very happy with the outcome.
Yeah, there's not going to be a lot of dry eyes by the end of this movie. You did a wonderful, wonderful job. Who would you say is the audience for this film? Who should be coming out and seeing this? Obviously, it's part of our Acts of Valor series, but I think it goes far beyond the appeal of just those who served. I think it does a wonderful job of holding up a mirror to the real, not just the real experience, but the aftermath of the real experience. So could you expand on that for me?
Yeah, I think it would appeal to a broad audience, definitely service members and veterans themselves, but also family members of veterans. I think would get a lot out of seeing the film. But I also think, we've tried through the film in very creative ways to bring sort of the history of Vietnam and the history of the current day wars in a really unique way, and get an audience to think about them very differently. It's a really unique film. So I think even if you have no relationship to the military, it would be a really fascinating ride to come see what these guys are doing out in the woods.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much for your time today. It's a wonderful film. Everyone, go see it.
Thank
Thank you.